I named my painting classes Keep the White Space in Your Art and in Your Day because my first art instructor coached us to keep the white space in our paintings. Watercolor is different than most paints because it is transparent. The colors are most brilliant when you can see the white paper underneath. Artists are taught to use the white of the paper for the whites in the painting and for the highlights. I diligently work to keep the white space in my paintings. The paintings I'm showing you are all examples of my work. If you see white in the painting, it's because the white of the paper shows through. The tagline I added to the name, In Your Art and in Your Day, was added because of what I learned about my painting time during the 4 years I painted on the bus during my commute to work. Let me explain. The way this started was in the summer of 2007. Robert and I moved to a rural town 27 miles from my job at University of Texas to live in the community where he is the pastor of a Presbyterian church. Now with the move, instead of walking to work, I began riding an express commuter bus, an hour and a half each way. To keep up with my art career, I've always painted 2 or 3 hours early in the morning. Walking onto the bus at 5:45 a.m. and arriving back home at 7 p.m. left no extra time. I stopped having time to paint. 3 weeks went by and I had only wished for time. Necessity being the mother of invention, I created a palette to sit on my lap to paint on the bus. Expecting that I had solved my problem, I sat down in my seat the first day and proceeded to put the homemade palette on my lap, my paintbrush, paper, and paper towels in my hand. But because I had no idea what I was going to paint, my mind began swirling with doubt. I felt drained, no energy to combat the lack of confidence I was feeling. I wondered what had I been thinking all the time that I had meticulously assembled the lap palette. The bus was crowded with people, everyone minding their own business, but it felt as if all eyes were on me. I thought if I don't paint right now, I will most likely give up. Then a memory of my mother came to mind. I remembered many times in my childhood watching my mom in a garden shop buying flowers for my grandmother. I began to paint a clay pot of geraniums. I painted each day on the bus after that first day. I realized these days of painting on the bus were filled with learning experiences, mainly learning about myself. In the beginning, there was a lot of time spent alone, as if nobody noticed. Then people started acknowledging me. They told me they enjoyed seeing me painting. I found myself wanting to be willing to share my art with these people as they spoke to me. I'm not sure if I realized at this point that what I was experiencing with each encounter was not really about me or my art. It was more about learning how to show up for the moment, to fully experience the enthusiasm of the people around me. I heard people say, "Your paintings make me smile." One day, a lady said, "Yellow is the happiest color I see you paint." If I lost a cap to one of my paintbrushes, the people sitting or standing close to me all joined in for the search. Daily, I was humbled by their show of appreciation for my little paintings. These communications, so early in the morning, was a break from the normal routine. People on a bus, 5:45 a.m. in the morning, mostly sit quietly together as a room of strangers. When the conversations began, I knew my paintings were important to the person talking to me. Coming to me with a comment or a question, they would often ask if they could sit down next to me. It was not unusual for them to ask me to paint something so they could see how I did it. Or sometimes they wanted to tell me about an uncle or an aunt that was an artist. I'll admit at first I was bothered, but I worked to stay friendly. I was important to my fellow bus riders. These were all hard-working people, and my art was a bright spot in their day. Back to the first day I painted on the bus. My hope to continue painting each day, my attitude to change my circumstances, allowed lots of things to happen, experiences that now I can tell as my story. A few experiences that come to mind. A newspaper reporter showing up as I got on the bus at 5:45 to interview the bus paintings lady. A visually impaired lady that sat down with me with her dog and asked me about the painting I was painting at the time, a basset hound. But the hardest interaction, the one I literally had to change my attitude in the moment, happened early in those days. I had sat in my seat ready to explore painting an image in my head of the blackbirds I'd watched through the window in my office at work. I had seen two birds that made me think they were walking and talking. I could perfectly picture one of them holding his head high in arrogance. I wanted to paint this scene. Needing to warm up, I first painted a bird that looked a lot like a fat black robin. Nothing like what I had in my mind, but that was okay, until a man sat down with me and started asking me what I was painting. I described the picture in my head. He began telling me how to paint it. It took me a minute to think at all, and my first thoughts were something along the line of the nerve of him. But quickly I realized this conversation and me being available to him as a painter on the bus was important to him, and he just wanted to be a part of the process. I managed to respond to his suggestions and paint several birds with him talking until I actually painted one of my favorite paintings ever. I call it Walkin' and Talkin'.